Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Showbound podcast. I'm your host, Michael Raskin, once again joined by Barry Colt's Ethan Cardwell. Cardsy, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great, Rask, and I'm doing a lot better ever since I saw our name and our brand at number 3 on the charts of the Canadian Hockey Podcast rankings. So it's obviously an amazing thing, and just want to thank the fans again for all the support as we make our climb to hopefully number 1 down the road.
Yeah, you're listening at the time we record the number 3 biggest hockey podcast in Canada. What an honor. And shout out TSN, for sharing a bunch of our stuff and driving some interest into our podcast. So thank you to those guys. We got another huge episode this week, a really fascinating interview with Welychka. He's a 2-time OHL champion with the London Knights, former captain of the Belleville Bulls and Carleton Ravens, played for 2 teams in the AHL, the Manitoba Moose and the Rockford Ice Hogs. He's currently playing pro in Denmark. He's a really interesting guy off the ice. He's actually a player advisor. We can get into that. And he works with our favorite brand, B Clutch, which we'll also be talking about later. But just a really, really fascinating guy, has had an incredible hockey career. And I'm excited for the listeners to hear this interview. And it's definitely a good one. But before we get into that, let's talk about the World Junior Camp, Cardsy. We got a lot going on, and you want to take it away?
Yeah, no, for sure. I've been in contact with a lot of guys there, and they just said the pace of play is really fast, and the team looks amazing, and it's a battle for all the guys to make it. I don't know a guy that's really 100%, other than returning players, but yeah, they're all just going in, giving it their best, and then hoping for the best. And yeah, they said the pace is super intense, and everyone's working hard, everyone's hitting, playing physical, doing what they do best to show the coaches why they should make it. And I think you wanted to touch on a little bit about the Doc Cousins being late thing.
Yeah, so for those who didn't see it, it went around on social media, but Kirby Doc and Dylan Cousins showed up. I believe it was right on time, not late, but like right as practice was starting. And they were basically told to go watch from the stands. Like it's a huge deal. It's World Juniors. You can't be late. You got to be early, and they're veterans. They're supposed to be leaders on this team. So honestly, it was like no ill intent or anything by that, but I think it was just a little bit of a mistake. And they showed up really early the next day, and the two of them skated an extra long time by themselves. So, it sucks when mistakes like that are heavily publicized. But the thing I don't understand, and maybe you can help me out, Cardsy, is I can understand being late to some things, but when you're in a bubble, I don't know what makes you late, especially if, like, did they not take the team bus from the hotel to the rink altogether?
Yeah, well, I might sound like little bit of a hockey insider here, but I heard from an inside source that they might have been getting therapy done with the trainer, be getting work done on their bodies to loosen up or whatever, take care of some hidden injuries or whatnot. And they happen to show up at 11:30 for an 11:30 practice, and the coach had already called the guys in to talk about the practice and what the first drills was going to be. So I don't know. You can take it how you want it, but either way, I think they made up for it the next day, and then it'll be good for them to kind of humble them, and moving forward they'll be on time and sharp leaders for this team going forward.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't know about that training thing. It just sucks. Maybe they just were a little slow getting their gear on after that. Honestly, I mean, I think we all know they're not intending to act as cocky or anything like that. I've heard they're both great guys, and yeah, that's really it. We don't need to get too much more into it, but I do want to talk about a fantastic hockey stick company, All Black Hockey Sticks. We're actually doing a giveaway on our Instagram. You can check it out for any details. We're going to be giving away some merchandise courtesy of All Black Hockey Sticks. If you're really looking to get some value out of a stick, it's the highest quality 440 gram stick for just $89 US. And in Canada, you can get 3 sticks for just $300 US. And no logos on the stick means it's right price for performance, not for advertising. 9 years in the business with player referrals, not expensive ads, and big name contracts to keep the brand growing. So check out our giveaway. All you have to do is repost on your Instagram story our post and just tag us so we see it, and we'll be picking a couple winners. So shout out to All Black Hockey Sticks, fantastic company. And yeah, I think with that being said, we'll send it over to Brett Welychka. All right, we're pleased to be joined now by Brett Welychka. Brett, how's it going, man?
Good boys. How you guys doing?
Good. I mean,
Too
we're
bad.
we're both pumped to get you on the podcast. Cardsy and I were talking all week about how exciting this interview is going to be. So I just want the listeners to know what you kind of went through in junior. We'll get into your whole junior career and then where you are now, but just for the listeners, listen to this. Brett Welychka played for the London Knights, as you guys heard earlier in the episode, and he won 2 back-to-back OHL championships there in 2012 and 2013. Played with some unbelievable players, guys like I can list this whole episode, but guys like Max Domi, Andreas Athanasiou, Bo Horvat, Mitch Marner, Josh Anderson, Christian Dvorak, Victor Mete. Like, it could go on and on, but some sick London teams there. Obviously, a lot of success there, and you're a London local guy, so I actually want to talk about your OHL draft. You were a 5th round pick, and how did it feel basically that day? Like, take us through getting drafted by your hometown team.
Yeah, talking about my draft, first thing I remember, honestly, just, the excitement that you have with your parents. My brother was there too. And it's something, an OHL draft is you're 16 years old, 15 years old, whatever it is. And it's pretty overwhelming in the sense that, you just got drafted to an organization that, any organization in the OHL is astonishing. And the fact that I got, picked by the London Knights, a team that, I've been following my entire childhood, it was unbelievable. And, my parents were obviously happy to keep me at home, for a couple of years, and, instead of leaving away for 16 years old, and, which is what a lot of players have to do. And, you think of London, you think of 9,000 fans, winning, Dale, the Hunters, elite players. And, I knew 5th round wasn't going to be, I wasn't going to be the guy of the draft, but I also was I was also in a good position to, make a name for myself. And, I had to beat out a lot of guys, and because I wasn't a 1st to 3rd rounder. Right. So, being that 5th rounder and just being drafted to my hometown team was a great experience.
Yeah, and did you grow up playing for London Junior Knights organization?
Yeah, I did a little half and half. I was I actually started with the Junior Knights, and then I went 4 years, I think, with Elgin Middlesex Chiefs.
Okay, yeah.
So actually, me and a buddy, we left London organization. We went over to Elgin. And then I came back to London for, I think, 4 or 5 years up until my draft year. And had some success in minor hockey as well. And, I was able to play with a lot of pretty good names there too. So,
did you live at home throughout your junior career, or did you bill it when you were with the Knights?
Yeah, so I lived at home. I basically, they gave me the option, but they're like, yeah, well, listen, we've had many London guys come through here. Most of them live at home, but if you want, by any means, we'll find you a billet. And I'm like, no, I'm going to live at home. And then, of course, when I got traded to Belleville, that was my first billeting experience, my only billeting experience.
Your first year with the Knights, which was your 2nd year in junior, you step into just an incredibly loaded team, a really, really stacked offensive team, just awesome. What was that experience like, going to the rink every day, winning every game, like that first year? How did it go for you?
The thing is, when you're in London, it's very close to pro. It's you're a kid that doesn't get what the pro lifestyle is or understand it fully, but the closest thing that I know is the London Knights. So the good and bad thing about that is if you're on, then you're going to play, but if you're not on, then there's going to be room for other guys. And fortunately, I think that kind of fell into my suit on the positive note, where I kind of got that opportunity that first year, and I took advantage of it in the best way possible. And, things just kind of started to click. And, once you get that confidence, as you guys know, when you're playing, you get that confidence, you get a little more leash from the coach. You start playing a few more games, you get comfortable with the guys, the training staff, the fans start to know your name, and it kind of just takes away from, just kind of rolls on from there. And it's your job to keep it or your job to lose it. And yeah, it was good that I was able to, take advantage of that.
And you guys won a championship that year, like I mentioned before. And did you play much in the playoffs that year?
Yeah, so that was we had a lot of injuries kind of going into the playoffs. I remember Jared Knight was hurt. He was a big name right winger, and I was kind of playing. It was actually funny because our fourth line was Chris Tierney, Bo Horvat, Josh Anderson. Good
Decent
buddies of
fourth
mine.
line.
Not
Yeah,
too bad.
and actually Andreas Athanasiou was I think he was kind of like our third line guy or maybe second line guy. Anyways, we're all rookies. We're all first year guys. Actually, Chris Tierney and Double A were Athanasiou were second year guys, but we're first year guys, and that's our fourth line. And I'm trying to squeeze in there any possible, like if there's any injury, whatever, I'm in there. But the thing was, when I was playing, when Nider was out, I was getting plugged in on like third line and second line because that line was so good as a fourth line that they weren't going to put me in there. They weren't going to break that line up. Like that fourth line was better than second lines in the OHL. It was insane. And look at them now; they're all in the NHL, right?
Yep.
So I was kind of getting plugged in. Like I remember a couple games I was plugged in with like Nemestikov and Max and my job was to be that that spark guy, right, for them. Whether they're not if they're not on that night, I got to create room for them. And because our fourth line was so good, whenever I got the opportunity, I actually knew that I was going to go in and play. And so from that, from me being able to play and do that, the shitty part was that Nider came back, which is obviously good for him, and that basically just means that I get put back to the stands, and which was fine, and I still learned. I think I ended up playing 2 or 3 playoff games that year. I honestly don't remember, but there was a couple injuries, and that kind of just got me in, and then guys came back, and that's just how it is, right? Like when you're on, there was a ton of guys though. I was the main guy, kind of next in line, but we still had like. I remember our Black Ace skates. I think we had like 8 guys that year in Black Ace skates. All like, some guys knew they weren't going to play. Some guys were kind of like, and then like I was kind of on that line every game. You never know what's going to happen, right? And again, going back to the professional aspect of London, like you don't even see pro teams that have Black Aces of 8 people, like of 8 players. Like it's insane the way they do it and the way they call guys up, know when to call them up, how to develop them, and there's always somebody in the stands, and that's how they win. Is there's always somebody in the stands that's willing to get in there, and when you're playing, that's what I think that's why the players are so successful there.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Like as a young player, even if you're in the stands, like I went through it in my first year in the I think I only got into like 5 games in the playoffs, but like you said, you're still like getting great reps in practice, and then when you are in, you got to take advantage of it and make the most of your opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. I think, when you're practicing and you're playing, it's complete different things. But, the biggest takeaway that I had that year was just, watching, like you watch the guys that are successful on that team and in that league, and you kind of start to take after what they're doing, and it works, and if it doesn't work, then, you find it somewhere else. Right. So, during Black Ace skates, like, I tried to get better on my skills, and, I tried to get better in conditioning. And that way, when it came to a game, I was ready to go. And, I saw that from the older guys. So
Where was the Memorial Cup that year?
it was in Shawinigan, in the Q. And we stayed in a town called Three Rivers, which I actually ended up playing against in my college 3-year stint. And that's where we stayed. And they hosted the Memorial Cup that year, and they ended up winning. They were eliminated, I believe, the first round that year.
I remember there was a lot of noise because everyone was kind of upset that they won, and there was talk about changing the format back then. And you've seen it happen a few times now with Windsor a couple years ago doing it. But how'd you do in that Mem Cup personally?
Personally, I didn't play that Mem Cup. I'll kind of go back to your earlier question about, playing that year. And I think I played 75% of the league games. And then I think I had 4 games in the playoffs that year. And actually I ended up, my last game, we took it to Windsor. I think we went 4-0, and like we slapped them pretty quick. And my last game, I actually in that game I had a Gordie Howe hat trick, And, I'm thinking as a kid, like I'm 17, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to play in the second round now. Here we go. And then, Niter comes back, and I think I'm probably one of the only ones to get health bombed after a Gordie hat trick in the OHL. But, it was a numbers thing, right? I knew that he was going to be back. He was the better option at that time. And, but yeah, then we went off, we won, beat Niagara in the finals. I didn't play any of those games, but, I was right there the entire time, got a ring, whatever. And then went to Shawinigan, didn't play any games, dressed for the finals. And, we lost in OT. I think it was 1-0 or 2-1. I can't remember what it was. Lost in overtime, and it was absolute heartbreak. And, even not playing, like, still would have had a Memorial Cup ring. I've been to 3 now. I went to 3 and I never got one, which, I'll take to the grave with me. But, looking back on it now, regardless of how much I played, I would have killed to have that win. So.
Yeah, that's just unimaginable, man.
Yeah.
In your second year, though, you got to take a bigger role on the team, and you guys went on another deep run and ended up winning the championship a second time. So that year, the Mem Cup was in Saskatoon. Is that right?
Yes.
So
it was
that was the one you lit it up with 4 points in 5 games. And how did that tournament go for you? And how was it like just every game on national TV, lots of media attention, big press conferences after every game? Like, take us through that Memorial Cup experience, because I don't know if the regular listener kind of knows the attention that's put on you there.
Yeah, the Memorial Cup is honestly unbelievable. Like it's like a tournament for young adults, you know what I mean? Like it's everything you think of. Obviously, like the media, like it's pretty intense. Like there's a lot of media, of course, but like the coolest thing is like you win your league and you literally fly out, or wherever you go, drive, fly. We flew out. Actually, that year, I believe we took the New Jersey. I think Hans hooked it up with. We took the New Jersey Devils plane to, I don't know how, but we took it to Saskatoon. Or maybe that was
bad.
I can't remember. Yeah, dude, it was unbelievable. Just the PJ going over, and then and then we get you get to the Memorial Cup. There's a banquet. You get all this. You get your goodie bag, but goodie bags, like there's like a watch, like a plaques, all this stuff. It's just like it's insane. And you're seeing the other teams practice. And then you play 3 games, you play each other, and basically the format is pretty weird. If you win your first, I think 2 games, like you have a chance to go into the finals. You have a chance of just going right to Sunday. But that was the year where Portland, Halifax, and the host of course, Saskatoon were in it. And Halifax and us were kind of 1 and 2 in the CHL standings the entire year in the rankings.
Wait, was that the Nathan McKinnon year?
That was McKinnon, Drouin, Martin Frierk. Like they had a lot of nasty guys too. That like a lot of like American guys now.
Decent lineup.
Oh my God, man! Go through the lineup. Like the thing was, I think we were kind of like, you look at the queue and you're kind of thinking like, okay, we're like, I think we're gonna be a better team, but like they were stacked. They were 4 lines. They worked hard. Their D were tough. And we got absolutely slapped by them. I think we beat Saskatoon our first game, and then we were feeling pretty good. And I think we lost like 3-1 or something like that to Portland. And then the next game we got absolutely shelled by Halifax, man. It was bad. It was ugly. I think it was like 8-3 or something like that. Ooh. I think that's the game though. If you ever seen Max Domi's pass between his legs to Bo.
Yeah.
You've ever seen? I think Portland was the game, or Portland or Halifax was one of those. It was there though. I remember that. And then we played Saskatoon in the qualifier because we both finished, I think, with the same record, or they beat somebody. I think they beat Portland or something. I can't remember. Halifax goes to the finals, and then we play Portland in the semis, and we lost. And then I think Halifax ended up just dominating, and they won that. But Memorial Cup's unbelievable. I was able to go to 3 and experience it, and like, I never took. I'm not a kid that's going to take that stuff for granted. And each time I went was like eye opening, and they do such a good job. It's crazy.
So in that second Mem Cup you went to. What's the feeling on the bench when Max Domi score or makes that play through the legs? What are you thinking on the bench as that goes down?
I don't know. You're thinking in your head like, okay, like this is stupid. Like this is how does how do you do that? And the thing I love that him, Max and I are great buddies, and the best thing about him is like he will do that stuff all like he's a master at that stuff. It's unbelievable. Like in practice, if you're not ready, like he'll embarrass you. And it obviously happened to me a couple times, but for you to do it on a stage like that is pretty incredible. Trying it in practice here and there in like a scrimmage 3-on-3 whatever, like at least try it, but like to do it on that kind of stage is, like I said, it's nuts. And I remember just kind of thinking in my head, like, I wasn't like that surprised, you know what I mean? Because you've seen it so many times, or like not the exact same play, but you've seen like, trickery like that from him so many times that you're just like, whatever.
Yeah, he's just filthy, man.
He's something else.
He loves the big stage. He loves the crowd. I remember we played Guelph once and they were cheering his dad's name. He was in the playoffs, and I don't think he had any points in the first period. I could tell he was pissed. And I think he ended up going out. I remember we were on a 5-on-3, and like normally on a 5-on-3, guys are just kind of like passing it around, and then like someone shoots and he literally just had it beside the goal, like beside the net, carries it up. One of our defense goes to the net as if it's a play, but it's not. It's just he's just carrying it. He's like this. I'm just gonna do it. Carries it up, comes like literally like touches the blue, goes down and just goes absolute shelf. And I think he shushes the crowd, and I'm thinking in my head, like, man, this guy, like, this is nuts. Like he can just turn on and like with a snap, right? And that's again, like you look at the crowd, I'm thinking like they should not have woke him up.
That brings me the Michael Jordan feel. Did you guys watch The Last Dance?
Yeah.
When they say like, don't tell him he can't do something and then he's gonna go out and do it. So
yeah.
That's definitely one of the ultimate competitor like things that you can say about someone. We're talking a lot about London, but I can't skip over your third year on the Knights, where again you went to the Memorial Cup and you had 56 points in 68 games. I got it written down. Did you do anything different that off season to kind of prepare you and make you a real competitive OHL player that year?
I didn't really do anything in that off season that I can like be like, oh my God, like you guys need to do this. I mean, I've always taken care of my body. My brother's been huge on me at a young age. My parents were good with me with nutrition. I think maybe that year I actually, I think I started doing a little more conditioning. When you're younger, when you're 16, and back then when I was playing, when you're 16, it's like, oh my God, get big. Like you need to be big to play. Like the Knights made me put on 20 pounds. And like back then that was normal because you had to be at like 180 pounds at least. Whereas like now, and like you see like a Mitch Marner come in like soaking wet 150 pounds, right? And like, but he's slippery, like no one's gonna touch him. So that's like more of a norm now. Whereas like I feel like when I played, maybe a little before, maybe a little after actually, was you needed to kind of focus on weights. Where I think that year I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm a third year guy. Like I'm gonna do some sprinting and some some running. But the big thing for me that year was just confidence, literally just confidence. After you play a year or two in a league that you start to understand, you start to talk to the refs a bit. You've played in every rink, every dressing room, how the road trips feel, the hotels, the food on all that stuff adds up, right? And, as soon as you start, the faster you learn the league, the better you're going to be. And, for me, I don't think it was too slow, but, it definitely wasn't fast as others. And that's, I'm not putting on any knack to, guys that never figured it out or whatever. But, if you look at how I was able to be successful like that, I think it was for me, as a 5th round guy and whatever, I think it was just confidence, man. Like it's crazy how much confidence can do.
You mentioned Mitch Marner, and speaking of confidence, what was it like playing with a guy like him and seeing him come in his first year, light it up? Second year you were with him as well. What was he like in junior?
Yeah, Mitchy was good, man. He was he's a good kid. Like he's like a little like he was just a little bit off the ice, as we all were when we were 16, right? But he had this like little frame on him, like long hair, no facial hair, but like so sick. Like just the way he controls the pucks, dances in the corners. The one thing I notice about Marnes is, and I still say this to a bunch of people when they ask me like how it was playing with him, I said he's got the best motor or engine on him I've ever seen. Like if you watch him from the start of the game to the end of the game, like you kind of see a decline in most guys, or at the start of a shift at the end to the end of the shift, you start to see a decline. He never stops. Like his motor, his lungs, whatever it is unbelievable. And that makes him successful because if he's out there for a minute, he's going to be giving it as much as he can. And he's smart, right? He's not going to waste his energy. He's not going to hit. But he'll be the guy to strip a puck and go down and make a play. And he has the vision to do so, right? So, I mean, playing with him in that sense, I was obviously very impressed. He came in, he had a confidence level on him. I wouldn't say it was too cocky, but like sometimes to be good, you got to be cocky. And he had that. He was just so confident and it paid off.
Yeah. And I don't know the years, but I know you had at least one or a few NHL camp invites. Can you talk about where those were, if there were more than one, and how that went for you?
Yeah, I was actually able to go to 3. So my first one was with the Leafs. That was after my 17-year-old year, so after the Shawinigan year. And then my second one was like the biggest one. That was a development camp actually with the Leafs. I guess it wasn't like the rookie camp, but that was the lockout year actually, I believe. Or something happened where guys didn't go to I think it was lockout.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second year was Tampa Bay. So I went to development camp. And before development camp, the draft happens, and I was on the phone with Tampa in I think the 6th round, and I was with a bunch of my buddies. And that day, I went out with my parents and my grandparents and my uncle and stuff. And my agent was like, "Yeah, listen, if you're gonna get drafted, it's either gonna be Chicago or it's gonna be Tampa. Like those teams, like they want you, but it's basically between you and another guy for both teams, and it's probably gonna happen in the 6th or the 7th." So I was like, okay, I got to get my mind right. Like, I don't really want to think about this. Draft is like 6 p.m., 7 p.m., whatever it was. And so I golfed the entire day. And then I was like, I'm still kind of like anxious. I'm just going to hang out with my buddies. So then we got together. I went to my buddy's place, a bunch of us. They're good guys. So we throw in the draft. It's like in the 5th round, I think it goes by. And then 6th round, I get a call from Tampa. And they're like, yeah, we're either going to actually, no, sorry, it wasn't from Tampa. It was from my agent, but he had the GM from Tampa on, like he dialed him in or whatever. They dialed each other in. And they're like, yeah, it's between you and like 2 other guys for the 6th and 7th round. I don't think they had a 7th round pick. I think it was their 6th round pick that year was their last pick. And it was like, it's between you and a Euro, but either way, we want you at our development camp, kind of like solidifying that, like, they want me, but they might not draft me, which again, I'll never understand. Sure enough, don't get drafted and, pretty choked. Chicago obviously passed up on me as well. And, my agent at the time and other guys, you're telling yourself as a guy, you're just as a player, just like, what, there's 30 other teams or however many other 29 other teams that I'm going to be able to go to camps. And in reality, though, getting drafted I think is very important. Looking back on it, I wish I did. You get definitely a lot more investment. They put a lot more into you. But anyways, I went to that camp, that development camp, did really well there. Stevie Y invited me back. He's like, yeah, we really like you, and come to the rookie camp. So I go to rookie camp, did really well there. And then I went to the main camp and got absolutely humbled there.
Yeah.
You have a good development camp, kids your age, a couple guys, maybe like OAs, probably the oldest. You go to your rookie camp on my team was like Kucherov, Duran, like they were just starting. Kucherov, Duran, Vasilevsky, that whole younger crew, all those guys were there. And that was when I was Nemestikov. It was nice that he was there because I played with him in London. but rookie camps, one thing, we go down to Coral Springs, play. I think we played Boston, Nashville, and Florida, and then we were in it as well as 4 teams. And you play your games, and you come back, and if you make it, you stay. If you don't, basically, you make it if you get more per diem. So like each like week they give you amount of per diem, and I came back to my place and there was another like certain amount of money sitting in an envelope on my thing, and my roommate's like, yo, you made main camp, and like I was like, whoa, this is sick. And then sure enough, we get to the rink the next day, and John Cooper's there, and he's like, okay, you guys are the last guys to make it. And like, I don't think London expected me to make it either. Like, I think Hunt's kind of expected me back, and I think we had our home opener that week. I don't think I played in a few games. I think I missed a couple games. But I was at main camp, and I got humbled, man, hard, like big slice of humble pie on that one. Like it was, man, like Stamkos, I learned a lot from him. St. Louis, like these guys in the gym, like even during training camp, like, it's the modern era now where you're at training camp. Like you're not there to get in shape. You're there to get better. You know what I mean? Like you're already in shape, but you're there to get better. And I was experienced that. And, I remember Stevie Y, we talked about, like, we had my exit meeting. I got gassed like maybe a week and a half in. I got to play like an inter squad game, which was pretty cool, I guess. But Stevie Y is like, he's like, yeah, you got to get faster. You got to get stronger. Like, he's like, here's your vertical and here's Steven's vertical, like Stamkos. And it was just off the charts. I was like, wow. But I went back, had a great year that year. And then my third camp was in Chicago. And I also got to go to that rookie camp as well, development camp, rookie camp. And then they offered me a contract, and that was my overage year. They offered me a contract, a 2-way AHL East Coast deal. And then I decided to go to school I decided to play in my OA year, and then I went to school. I got a couple more offers, but then I decided to just go to school after that.
So after your overage year, you went to the Carleton Ravens. You said you had a couple offers, but I think I just want to talk about this quick for myself, being a U Sports guy. It's a fantastic league. Not many people, unless you have friends in the league, really know how competitive it really is. But you go to U Sports, whatever team, you put up numbers there, and you're gonna have the same pro offers you did out of the OHL. Like that's the type of reality, especially if you continue to improve the way you did, Brett. But I just want to touch on the level of hockey. Like at Brock, at least, we played schools in the preseason, like RIT, Penn State, Quinnipiac, and those games are like 1-goal games, all of them. And our teams those years weren't great. And you look at schools like UNB, Cardsy, Jason Wilms. I don't know, you didn't play with him, I guess, but him a little.
I know Wilmer.
Yeah, like he's at UNB now, and schools like UNB are playing AHL teams in the preseason, and they actually win a couple games. It's a crazy level of hockey. But Brad, let's talk about your U Sports, your CIS at the time experience. Your first year, you lit it up, 46 points in 27 games, rookie of the year in the country, something that like people can't just step into that league and do that. Like what happened with you that year that you just came in and lit it up like that?
Yeah, that was, I mean, on and off the ice, that was my favorite year, man. Like off the ice, it was my first time living away. I think I needed that. I had 2 unbelievable roommates. They weren't even on the team. I came in late because, I was kind of holding on to an American League camp, and my agent was like, yeah, Rockford's gonna, they want you to come. But camps don't start till like September 20th, right? Whereas school starts September 7th or something like that. And normally you have like your varsity teams that start like the week before school starts. So like 1st of September or 3rd or something like that. So I was really kind of arrogant in the sense, like, I don't really want to go to school. I kind of didn't really feel out too many schools during my away year because I was focused on pro hockey. And one team that really stuck out, and one team and one coach and program that really stuck out, was the Carleton Ravens, Marty Johnson, Sean Van Allen, and one of my best friends to this date, Brett Gustafson, who I played with in Belleville my overage year. Guy's an absolute legend.
I just want to jump in and let everyone know you were the captain of the Belleville Bulls your last year too there. Just a little shout out to you for that, so the listeners can know, just a leader. And also captain at Carleton later on, but continue.
So we, I mean, that was one of the teams in the OUA. I mean, I met with all the AUS, the UMBs and all that stuff. And I just didn't really have interest. I wanted to go pro and I wanted to start my pro career. But when I met Carleton and Marty Johnson, I went out with my other buddy Gus, and it just, something about it kind of was like, wow, like the way that this guy handles, and he had examples of like sending guys off to Europe and like strong leagues, American League, East Coast, whatever it may be. And I was just like, you know what? This is a guy I'm going to keep in my back pocket. Sure enough, my agent calls in the summer. He's like, hey, listen, like, he's like, you have a Rockford camp, but like, I would suggest that you get a school to go to kind of as a like blanket, like safety blanket for you. And so it was between UNB, Guelph, and Carleton, and Carleton was my number one. Reason being is the coach. I love the location. The program's unbelievable. And I had some guys there that I knew, Ryan Van Straal and, Mike McNamee, who's an unbelievable player. He called me. He was the captain. Joey West, all these guys that played in the OHL or Q or whatever. And so I go in there and, things kind of just came together. And I was living with my buddy on his couch. Got Brett Gustafson and then Ryan Van Stralen and then another guy. They had a house together and I had nowhere to live, right? So I was like, he gave me his couch for like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it was. And 2 weeks goes by and I'm like, man, like, this is unbelievable. Like, I'm living on a couch right now and I'm starting school. Like, yeah, I'm nervous because like I have to go to school for the first time in like 6 years, it felt like. But like I'm loving this right now. Like the dynamic of it is so sick. And then we actually ended up going on a Europe trip. We went for, I think it was 13 days, 14 days to Germany, Austria, and Italy. And yeah, and I'm not gonna say anything about I'm not gonna say anything about like how the if that was persuaded and them getting me to go there and stuff, without any charge. But no, they did a really good job in that sense. And they're like, hey, listen, we're going on a Euro trip. Like, this is huge for our preseason. Like, you need to be, if you want to come, if you don't want to come, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm coming for sure. So then I went there and I came back and I literally like looked around the room. And I'm like, listen, like, I'm not leaving. Like, and the boys kind of knew, like, I could have like got home and went off to camp, like went back home for a week and then went to camp. And I just told the team, I told Marty, I was like, listen, I'm staying. Like, this is sick. And I think it was a pretty big grab because, usually once a year you kind of get a player like that is like kind of on the bubble of pro or staying at school. And it's pretty big when you get them, right? When you land a guy in a program. So, and it's happened before me, it's happened after me, and it'll continue to happen. And then we actually played, when we got back, I think a week later, we played Binnington, who actually was an AHL team at the time, and we beat them 1-0. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is obviously a good program. The thing about U Sports, CIS, when I first started, U Sports now, like you're working out from basically Monday to Thursday, Monday to Wednesday, and you're doing school at the same time. And, the way that you have to handle yourself with time management makes you, appreciate what you had in the OHL, how you would just kind of go to the rink and, bum around a bit and then, go and just, rip pucks, whatever. But, to go to school and try to manage good grades, there's obviously incentives for good grades too for varsity students, which I, wanted to do as well. And I took us on psychology and had an absolute blast with it. Going to the rink, seeing all the guys in the morning and then going to classes with them is honestly one of the best things. And then, you play Friday, Saturday, and then Saturday you just have a blowout at night, like unless you're on the road, but pretty much every Saturday is green light. And then Sunday's off every night, every week. You don't play one Sunday. And of course, and then, December, pretty much most of the month in December, you're off.
Yeah.
So like you just pretty much you're literally a full student for December, and then if you're out of playoffs early, you're just a full student, which is kind of cool. Like I would have never guessed that I would have experienced that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And in that first year, did you guys go to the U Cup that year, the national championship?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we went to. I was in Halifax that year, so we lost. Actually, that's a cool game. We went 8 periods, so quadruple overtime with Saskatoon or Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And that was insane. I mean, that U Cup or whatever is an unbelievable. They do such a good job there. It felt kind of like a bigger Memorial Cup. I think there was 8 teams in it,
Yeah.
and it's single limb. So you go there, you win, you're in, lose, you're out. And it was cool because it was in Halifax as well. We were right on the water, so we were able to do dinners. There was a casino. Anyways, that night, so we played I think at 7 that first game, and I don't think it finished till like 12. One of my buddies on St. FX, Michael Clark, he is the next game after us because it's a tournament. Of course, there's just going to be games after games. There's a game before us, right? And there's a game after us. He's playing the game after us. And it's like 11 p.m. and I'm going to the room, like getting ready for the fourth overtime, whatever. And I'm just gagged. Like me and Mac and Vanny, like our whole, like our line, I think we ended up playing, Mac would know. We talked about it. It was like crazy amount of minutes that night. We were shooting mustard packets. Like we'd come off the bench. And I remember the one time I just ran right to the back and I got our massage therapist to like rub my legs, and then she would like the boys, and like we were just literally one of these and just something to like give you electrolytes, whatever, because it was the most absurd game. They scored and then actually I think we ended up, that was St. Patty's night, St. Patty's Day. We ended up going out that night. I think I got in one off half a beer because so
Yeah.
much.
That'll do it.
It's an incredible tournament. I actually went there my first year with Brock. Ours was in Fredericton, but it's cool. You talk about how big of a scale it is in Cardsy. I don't know if you know this, but if you win that first game, your next 2 games are on Sportsnet. They were nationally televised, and there was a lot of coverage and a lot of attention. I think it might be CBC now, actually. I don't know, but I mean, you're getting big attention, and it was a cool tournament. But we were in the same situation as you, Brett, where we lost our first game on the first night. But when you go there, it's like a week-long tournament, and you
Yeah.
have to basically plan it as if you're going all the way. So we had our flight home booked at the week after. So we had like 6 days of no games, no practice, nothing, just partying every night in Fredericton. So
Yeah,
and it was St. Patty's as well. So
the
yeah,
other teams are always jealous, man. It's hilarious.
yeah.
Like they're pissed. They hate to see it, right? But like, oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, so just awesome and exciting that you had that monster year, and then obviously you played 2 more years at Carleton, and I think after your second year, I don't want to focus too much on this because we have a lot more with the AHL and all that, but you went to the basically the world championships for university students. How was that like? You got to represent Canada and play in basically the Olympics.
Dude, that was unbelievable. Honestly, like sometimes I forget that even happened because it was so like, I mean, it was something that I never even knew about it, right? Like I remember when I first went to school, Marty kind of said like, hey, listen, like next year, also your second year, if you do well enough, the OUA is going to Kazakhstan for the World University Games. I'm like, what the hell's that?
Yeah.
And like, I didn't even care. I didn't even think about it. And I remember I was worried because we went up to Boston to play. We went up to Boston and we played 2 exhibition games there against the schools, Boston College and another school. And I broke a rib against Boston College off a hit. And I was out 6 weeks, and it came into the season. I think I missed the first 6 games, which how it is in school, it feels like that's like 30 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, and I kind of had it in the back of my head that I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get invited. And then Marty came up to me and he's like, he was actually on the coaching staff of that. And he's like, listen, like, you're like, you're in the top, whatever that is going to get picked. It's basically yours to lose. And I came came out, I got back and I started really strong. And then I kind of had to I started to get, you know, bugged up again with my ribs. It started to kind of like go to my pec area, whatever. So then they took some time off. Anyways, we ended up going to Kazakhstan, and absolute riot, man. Like the ceremony there, it was like the Olympics. Every sport, every country, like it was all done the exact same thing. We lived in a village. Honestly, the only part is I got sick for 3 days with like 3 other guys. Like we were like deathly sick, man. Like I think it was the food or something, but like I remember I almost didn't play the first game against US. Our one of our guys was like, honestly, I think he had to get an IV. I didn't get an IV. He was so bad he had to get an IV. And then he ended up playing. He's like, yeah, I'm not dressing against US. Like this is like Canada US. I'm gonna play this, right?
Absolutely.
And this team is like a bunch of misfits. Like we're all pro level, but like we're the best in the league, and we're playing, you know, for our country. You know what I mean? Like not many people know it, but like it's almost like for your league and for the U sports and where you played, you're kind of representing that. And it definitely held a lot of pride to us. We got to keep our jerseys because we got bronze, and like coming home with that was pretty cool. You know, the bronze medal. Never would I thought I would have had that, you know, after you're done your junior career.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's obviously very special and pretty cool anytime you can represent your country. So after this, you ended up taking off to the AHL to the Manitoba Moose after your third season. Did you end up graduating from Carleton?
Yeah, I was taking summer classes. I did a fast track. I did 3 years at school. Marty was basically like, listen, your best option, like your quickest way to get to pro is do summer school. I know it sucks, but like it's not that bad because it's online. So like my first year I did like 8 classes, and I think I took 4 summer classes. And then I did 5 and 5 my next, so 5 classes each semester my next 2 years, and I did 2 summer classes to each year after that. And then so when I was in Manitoba, so after our season ended, I went up to Manitoba. I got signed to a amateur tryout, and when I was there, I was continuing to do school, finishing up. I had emailed all my professors. I got the GM of Manitoba to kind of email my professors along with Marty, just being like, "Hey, listen, like, you know, we have this guy in a tryout. Like, it's kind of like a one in a lifetime thing. Like, don't take this away from him, whatever." And so was able to get a you know, confirmation that I was able to do school from there. I would kind of have like, I don't think it was Zoom. I think it was like Skype or something with my professors to like once a week or something to like make sure that I'm like doing the work and whatnot. And yeah, I ended up going there, and I mean, we can talk about that too, but it was cool to continue to do my school. And then I got back, finished all my exams, and I graduated. So
Yeah, and that first year, that's obviously amazing. Get your graduation done so fast and be able to fast track. And then that first year, obviously playing minimal games on the tryout contract. What was that like? Obviously, suiting up for your first professional game was probably something similar to what it was like to be at main camp. Obviously, as you said before, with like Stammer.
yeah, dude. I mean, your first game in pro, a lot of people start off in the East Coast or like SPHL, and you know, unless you're in that like top whatever percent, I don't know, like I'd call it 15% that get to go right to the American League. Um, you know, I think I was definitely very fortunate to have good years, and to have a guy in that coaching staff that believed in me and brought me in. Um, and you know, I think I was there for 2.5 months, and I only played 8 games, so I did a lot of black ace skating. But that was the most development I think I had in 2 months, however much I was there. Like, you know, obviously playing those 8 games, but like the practices, you know, my first week there, it was I was very taken back kind of in the speed. And that's when I was like, okay, like I gotta do something here when I'm in the lineup. Like I have to, this is the only way that I'm going to stay in. You know, practices are fast as hell. And I got to do something. I ended up playing pretty well. So, yeah, that was an awesome experience, especially, right when you graduate too. I think we played Iowa Wild, and like Ryan White was on their team, like that goon. And
Just a
I'm sure
killer.
yeah, dude, that guy's just like, his hair is just hanging down to here, and he just has like 3 teeth left. And he's just barking at everyone during warm-ups. But no, he's actually a good guy, I've heard. But seeing that compared to what you see kind of in junior and youth sports is, you're just kind of like, well, like, I got to be ready, whatever. But things kind of just happen naturally. And the best part about pro is you play with better guys, right? So like, if you're going to be good and you're going to do your job, then you know that the guys beside you or between you are going to be doing their same thing. So that's the good part about that. And it kind of just happened naturally. I had a couple good line mates, and when I was in, we did well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then your next year, you signed with Rockford. I don't know if you noticed in the back, I got my Rockford jersey going there. Old school throwback from, I actually lived there when I was like 2 or 3 years old because my dad was playing there. Obviously, I don't remember anything because I was 2 or 3, but yeah, figured I'd toss that up. Kind of fitting for the interview. But
I've seen that before, actually, that jersey. I have seen that.
Yeah, it's the throwback right there.
Yeah.
So that season, I believe you played in 18 games in the A, and then spent time also in the coast with Indy, I believe, where you did very well there. What kind of feelings and emotions were going on that season for you?
That's kind of what made me come here, man. Like,
Yeah,
it's tough, man. Like, you gotta definitely, like, I love the game, but like, you have to like have the game, and like, that's it. Like, the thing about when I went to college, like when I went to school, I learned a lot more about life. As sappy as that is, I learned a lot more that there's a lot more than hockey, right? And that was kind of how I was. You're kind of like this, you tunnel vision, and that's how it should be in junior, which is fine. And then, but then you go to school and you kind of, you take a class, you take all these different classes, and you start to learn, you start to like business, you start to like psychology, you build these more ideas. And then, to go to the coast and go up and down, and finally get comfortable somewhere, and then you get called back, and then you get sent down, you got to drive 6 hours and, live in a hotel, and, you miss out on parties. My girlfriend at the time, like when she was living at home, she would come visit me in Indy, and like, I would get called up and she'd have to come with me. And then we'd have to change her flight from Chicago instead of Indy, like all that kind of stuff. And I only went through it like 1 year. Guys have done it, and a lot of guys continue to do it because they're just, it's doesn't really affect them as much. Whereas I kind of wanted to just have that one solidified team, and I wanted to start somewhere where I could actually, develop and make a name for myself. And I didn't find the coast was a league that I wanted to play in for the remainder of my professional career. And the American League was kind of it's a very prospect driven league. So if you're not like, the top 5% of guys that aren't prospects, and you either are a prospect and you're getting invested in, and they're the ones playing, and it's usually younger guys now. And I just felt like it was, no matter how well you played, you're not really going to get too much out of it from the coaches and from the staff. And I'm not going to say too much about that, but Rockford was a great organization, honestly. Like the supplement, the nutrition that they put in their players, like it all comes from the Blackhawks. And the way that they handle it, man, is unbelievable. We had 3 chefs every day, every morning. You get breakfast, scrambled eggs, spinach, like all this fresh stuff. Their nutritionist would come in once a week, take you grocery shopping sometimes. Like, it's crazy what they put in and what they expect out too, though. So, that was an awesome experience. But again, very prospect driven league. And I think a lot of guys would agree with me. And I think that's why a lot of guys come over here.
Obviously, you said the AHL coast kind of thing was putting a little bit of a strain on you. You wanted a stable home. So obviously that made up your mind in heading overseas. So what was it like going over? You're in your second year now. How much different hockey? What's the level of hockey like compared to here? And just kind of take us through the differences.
The differences, I would say over here, it's definitely like what you expect with physicality. After you pass a puck, your chance of getting hit are a lot lower than back in the coast or in the American League.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the ice size, there's more room for, dancing and, just kind of making those moves that you wouldn't make back home because you might get lit up. But
Yeah.
honestly, in the sense of European hockey, it's harder that way too because it's more skating, right? Like you have to be a good skater, you have to have a good motor on you. You have like guys that are like, I'm gonna say it in the nicest way possible. Guys that can't really skate that are playing in the coast, like they have a hard time over here, or they can't come over here,
Yeah.
right? And so in that sense, it's a lot harder, right? Like you have to be a good skater. You have to, you have to have like our league. I personally think, and I've talked about it with a lot of guys, it's very fast in Denmark. These Danes here, they work their ass off. They're unbelievable skaters. Like they're constantly on the ice here. It's different than back in Canada, like where it's expensive. Here, they basically get paid to develop all the time. But a lot of them like to stay in this league. They're very home oriented. So this league's very, a lot of veterans from Denmark national team and stuff like that. They stay here. So it's very fast. It's young. But that's kind of where the game's going now anyway, right? So
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then obviously we'll get into, for the listeners who don't know, Brett's off to a tear this year. Really hot here with, I think you got 10 points in 7 games here to start it off. And then you got a game tomorrow. So hopefully pot a few more. You got any funny European stories, or just like the lifestyle differences and just like some things that you wouldn't see at home?
Man, there's a lot of stuff. I've caught myself saying I've seen it all now here, but I wish I wrote them down. Last year was a big eye opener, whereas this year is like obviously coming back, like switch teams. Like I'm living right in Copenhagen now, which is
That must be so nice. Yeah.
It's if you ever get the chance, boys, come to this city. It is unbelievable. And even during COVID, like when I first got here, the place was just on wheels. Like it was. People were buzzing around constantly, and even still, like things close at 10 p.m. But it's so there's always stuff to do. But no, I was in Esbjerg, which is the west coast of Denmark. Beautiful, beautiful city, small city, kind of like very European looking. And there's just like a lot of things that happen in the organization that you're like, whoa, I did not ever think that would happen. Or like I can't really think about like one off the top of my head or this year. And I don't really want to make any jabs or anything.
You don't want to
either,
expose anybody.
it'd be more European stories. Like what's awesome is like, for instance, me and 2 other buddies, I think it was like 3 weeks ago. So like, I don't know if you guys know, but there's double IHF breaks over here. So one in November and then one in February.
Yeah.
Last year, my girlfriend and I, we went to, on the first one, we went to Berlin, Germany for 3 days. And then on the second day, we went to Rome, right? Like what kind of, in what world, when you're playing professional hockey, you just get to pick up and just go over to, two beautiful places like that, you know what I mean? So guys would go and they use that time to get out of the city and go to these places. And then like, last, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, right in Copenhagen, there's a big sauna place called Copenhagen. And like, it's like sauna, hot tubs, you can jump in the ocean. So like you jump in I think it's the Baltic Sea, and then you get in, you go back in the hot tub, you can have beers. Like it's a lot of Scandinavian things like that I've really kind of like wanted to do. And I try to do as much stuff as I can. I try to learn some of the words, and try to experience that, right? Because I know it's not going to last forever. I know I'm not going to play in this league forever. My goal is to move up to a DEL or something like that. And, but it's again, it's great hockey, and there's a lot of times where I catch myself in general in Europe just being like, oh my god, I've seen it all.
Okay, so we have to talk about B Clutch, my personal favorite brand. For those of you watching the YouTube video, you can see Brett's rocking some sweet B Clutch merch, and it's just we talked about it last episode that with Ryan Suzuki, just some sick stuff. And you co-founded it with your brother Quinn, is that correct?
No, I actually didn't. It's all him. I'm not going to take any of the credit. I mean, I helped him along the way, but I'm kind of his guy that he goes to before he, like when he samples stuff, he'll kind of run
Okay.
it through me. And I mean, we came up with the name together. He came up with the logo, but he's done unbelievable with it. And the stuff is just, and I'm very non-biased when I say this. The stuff is absolutely elite. Like I just wish, he gets that break where he turns into a Lulu or a Nike or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
It's so sick. And actually, sorry for Quinn because I know he's gonna be listening. But to take away from a bit of his credit, but yeah, I mean he's done a phenomenal job. You guys are very active in the hockey community as well, and I just personally love B Clutch. I also want to shout out that for the fans listening who do want to check out B Clutch, you can find them on Instagram B Clutch or the website b-clutch.com, and make sure you use the promo code Showbound. You can take your 16% off. They have some unbelievable stuff. I just ordered 2 more shirts last week. I ordered a couple things from the farm collection, so I'm digging it. But I just want to talk about before we get into a fan question or two. What does it mean for you having a brother like Quinn who is so talented in this business world and like the B Clutch brand? What does it mean to you guys?
It's unbelievable, man. I think, I mean, it saves me a lot of money. I'll tell you that. But,
Yeah.
you know, I think what's special is like my brother got to watch me grow up and, kind of be like the sports guy or whatever in the house. And, for him now to have something that gets that type of attention, and now I get to watch that is very, like, it's unbelievable. Um, I like we get messages all like he gets messages all the time, and the thing is with my brother, he's very personal in the sense of like he's not going to tell me much unless I ask. But like when I ask, it's always like he'll just be like, oh yeah, look at like Kenyon Drake from in the NFL just message like, yo, like your stuff's sick, or
That's
Jordan
gross.
Howard, like yeah, like all these guys, man, like MLB guys too, like NFL, of course, NHL, like um, he just has a good thing going. I mean, it's stressful in the sense of like there's definitely good months, there's bad months. Like Christmas now is probably a good month because a lot of people are going to be buying gifts. But when you have to pay your student debt, or when the months aren't good with your rent or your car or something like that, sales aren't going to be driven as high. And that's when he needs to constantly do what he does. And he needs to find different ways to grab people's attention to try to sell stuff. And he's phenomenal with that. And behind the scenes, I've never seen anybody as good as him with digital stuff, like, how to work a website. He does all that stuff by himself. He learned how to do video camera. I don't even know how to turn on a video camera. So we're completely different in that sense. It made sense. It makes sense too. As when I was younger, he was always the one doing that stuff in the family. He would set up the TV instead of my dad. Like he's just digitally driven. He has a goal in his mind. And I think, hopefully with a couple good bounces here and in a few more years as an entrepreneur, hopefully he can turn into something bigger than what he is.
Yeah, very well said. And I want to remind everyone one more time, that's the promo code Showbound, 16% off. I encourage everyone to check it out. Even if you're not buying it, please, like, I'm not even just saying this. The website is fantastic. Their stuff is amazing. So I'm actually really like into the brand. I always have been too, not just recently. I ordered I don't know if you remember this one, the astronaut hat.
Oh yeah.
I have that one
Well,
upstairs.
that's another thing too. He comes up with these names, and like I'm going to be honest here. Like a good company takes bits and pieces from other companies, and one of the things that we really liked, I think it was Sauce Hot, or I can't remember what. Maybe I can't remember, but we would name all these hats, and that's the fun part, like of the business, right? Like you come up with a description of the hat, like the astronaut or whatever, like, wear this at a bar and like, you won't get missed or whatever, stuff like that. That's the fun part to it, right? There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, there's a lot of ugly that I've seen from that. But man, like the way that he handles those hats, like it's insane. He constantly comes out with some fire.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I'm with Rask. They're a sick brand, and I know I was checking it out the other day, and definitely going to do some Christmas shopping online there.
So also off the ice, you're working for a hockey agency, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm actually an assistant advisor to my head advisor, Chad McDonald, who's currently in law school and played 4 years college, and then went on to play in Kalamazoo for I think a year or two, and then went over to France. He's the main guy that hired me on, and I saw what he was doing. I had to jump on board. It's something as a pro hockey player that I kind of wanted to get into after hockey, when hockey's done, and I think to start now is pretty cool. So get to build up a clientele. I pick a small group, mainly younger guys, where I run them through a 15-week program where we talk about nutrition, how to talk to scouts, how to handle bad games. And then we do video for them as well. We have this video platform called Screencast. I'm able to go on and draw on the video, and they can see it. They can watch as much or as little as possible, as much as they want. And it's a huge thing for them to have someone in their corner that cares. And then if they get success from that, then I move them up to the puck agency that we're affiliated with, and then that's when they sign the contract with them. And yeah.
So what's the agency called, and where can they find it?
So the agency that we're affiliated, so our group is called True Advising Group. There's True Advising Group on Twitter. There's also a website that you can go to. We also have like a portal on there that has like coaching blogs. We do like vlogs. We do interviews with pro players, NCAA guys, all this stuff. And then the affiliated group that we're with is called Puck Agency. They have Pecorine, a lot of Finnish guys, I think, that they send there. And then, some American League guys, a couple more NHL guys, and decent amount of OHL guys as well.
From me, I think that's all good. And just, I don't know about you, Rask, but I just want to say thanks for coming on the pod. And it was a pleasure having you on today.
Yeah. I just want to say too, like, I mean, I feel like I could go on for another hour or two. I have so much, but we've been going on for a long time, and I really want to thank you so much for doing this. It was a lot of fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching you as you go throughout the season. Hopefully you move on up. Like the DEL you mentioned is a sick league, so it'd be pretty cool to see you there one day. And yeah, man, thank you so much for doing this. It was a fun time.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Appreciate it. I love what you guys are doing, and I wish you guys all the success. Keep going.
What a fascinating interview that was, Cardsy. Just a really interesting guy. Like, has done a lot on and off the ice.
Yeah, no, and it gives our viewers another vantage point on how a career can work and different paths that a player can take to still get to the pro level, whether it be in North America or Europe.
Yeah, just being a U Sports guy myself, like I'm all for his journey, like goes right into the AHL. And, I can see him making waves in the future in those higher levels of European pro. And who knows? I mean, once you're at those top levels, you can make your way back to North America. So I think obviously Brett's a really young guy still, so he's got a lot of hockey left ahead of him. But let's get into the Bachelorette, the listeners' favorite segment on this hockey podcast. I think this was a little bit of a slower paced episode, but I'll let you take it away, Cardsy. Actually, let's hear your take.
Yeah, I didn't mind it though. A lot of cool stuff, but obviously Noah was in the mix again, causing drama in the house, just doing whatever he can to be a little rat, kind of. I don't mind it though. It's kind of funny, but obviously other guys don't like it too much.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this guy yet. I mean, he's one of those guys. I'm going to make a weird comparison here. He's like the Brad Marchand, where you want to have him on your team. You don't want to be against him. And it's like,
yeah,
I'm kind of like rooting for him in a way, but if I was in that house, I'd hate him. So, yeah, I don't know. He's always in the thick of things. They foreshadow him and Bennett getting after it in the next episode. So
yeah,
more drama with him, you already know is coming. And my favorite part of that episode was when Ed was kind of walking in the middle of the night thinking he was going to Tasha's house and ends up at Chris Harrison's door at 2 a.m. that was just the most awkward. Like Chris invites him in to have a glass of wine and they're just sitting there in silence drinking, like weird. Chris is an awkward guy, and Ed isn't like the most socially forward guy either. So yeah, just a pretty weird, awkward part. And I felt the awkwardness in the air when I was watching it.
Well, yeah, and then you got Chris 2:30 in the morning. The guy's probably sleeping. Then he gets up. He has to have a glass of wine with some guy and talk about love. Like, come on, who wants to do that, really?
Yeah, well, Chris was looking good in the sweatsuit though. He's a big gray team guy, so he was pulling
Yeah.
off that look. I could go on about the Bachelorette a lot more, but I know this interview ran long. It was a really fascinating one, and I felt like we could have went a lot longer too. But I just want to mention before we wrap it up here that we do have some hats coming. We got some sweet Showbound merch coming. We'll be doing some giveaways, not just hat giveaways, some other giveaways like hockey apparel, merchandise, and some watches. But we'll get to that later. You got to stay tuned on our Instagram and Twitter for that. On Instagram, you can find us at Showbound Podcast, and on Twitter at Showbound Pod. Cards, you got anything else to add, buddy?
No, I think you pretty much touched on it all. And just thanks again to the fans for all the support, and follow along for a lot of big things coming ahead.